He's not going in.
As I said in the movie last night, I had to watch. Oh, it's a movie. I said last night. And a movie last night.
It's 5:30. We will call to order the Civic Center Ad Hoc Committee meeting to discuss change order request number 79. I will turn this over to Mr. Main for discussion.
Okay, change order 79 is in relation to revision request number 15 to add emergency lighting to the stairwells 1, 2, 3, and 4. There was emergency lighting required to be in the stairwells that was not caught by the state when they did the plan review. It wasn't caught by the state when they came out to do their inspections all the way up until just recently. So we've got to fix this before we'll get our C of O. This is something that was missed in the design, and therefore it should be construction change directive with HFR to bear the cost.
Don't forget, originally they had no lights in the stairwells.
So this is something that we have to do, certainly not something that we've added, not something that shouldn't have been in the plans. So I feel like it's definitely a construction change directive. So
At the meeting, the last meeting, the subcontractor recommended another fixture that would work, but that got shot down. Is that correct?
yeah, it did. I think it was, I don't remember how much it was going to save us, but they didn't have the backup required by the architect and engineer to be able to say that it met their specs. So
Wasn't an option.
not an option.
I thought it had to do with, I guess, lack of luminosity as well. The output of the lights wasn't high enough.
I don't know if they were able to provide documentation of that at all.
Okay.
That's what I thought, but
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion to accept that as a change directive.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Harvey, Second by Ms. Kirby. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Anything else to come before the Civic Center Ad Hoc Committee, Mr. Main?
I think we need to bring this before the board if possible tonight. Can we do that? There's a 2-week lead time on getting the material in, and then they're gonna have to do the work. So
We'll just put it under new business.
yeah, in an effort to keep things moving, I would like to get that taken care of tonight if possible.
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
I understand that HFR is not attending our meetings anymore. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct. How are we going to do this? I mean, what's the end game here?
Well,
Why are they not attending?
Chris said that the project was so near completion that he didn't see a need. What it boils down to is they're not being paid by us anymore right now. And he says that he doesn't see a need due to the pending completion of the project for him to be here for every single meeting. So
Wait a minute, we're not paying him anymore. Is that because we think that we've got the rest of it locked up in change orders and that kind of stuff?
yes, so a couple months ago, we realized that we were at the point where the amount disputed over change orders was close to the amount that we still owed them, so we stopped paying them.
Okay.
So their cooperation at that point fell off the table.
When's the last time you attended?
last month, he was at the one in March
He was at the one where we all went around.
and looked at the floors and the doors and all that.
Can we finish this project?
Yeah. This is, I hate to say it, but I don't see how any other change orders could come out beyond this.
It doesn't make any difference if they affect them. They're not going to show anyway.
Well,
They will come for the closing walkthrough.
yeah, I don't think there's anything further needed from them to be able to finish this out.
So, okay, so it's not holding up anything.
I don't think so.
They come for a punch list at the end.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that we only owe them X amount of dollars that would finish up their contract. I mean, we've been paying them a lot more on the front end, it seems like, but. Okay, I just heard that they weren't coming and I didn't know if this is, because I've asked 3 people when we're going to be finished and nobody hasn't anywhere close to an answer. So I don't know. You know, I get asked all the time, as probably everybody in this room does.
Well, the hearing had- it was gonna be 10 days after you get that measured in this slide.
Well, I understand about that. I'm just concerned about them not attending. I see that as a possible hole that we could fall into if something comes up at the last minute again.
Now, I will say that Chris has been responsive recently when it comes to the lighting issues. He did provide some email responses, so.
Well, as long as y'all feel comfortable about it, I don't, but you know.
Yeah, he is responsive by email and phone and has said that he will Zoom into meetings, but says he's not going to drive to McMinnville from Brentwood for every meeting.
And real quick update, they are paving this week.
Yes.
I think they've got that lower section halfway paved as of today,
Thank goodness.
about, so.
The upper section looked like it was paved
uh,
earlier or last week, I guess it was.
It's got the one coat before the final coat,
Somebody else.
so it's close.
Are they going to go right into the street paving and everything?
I hope so.
It looks like that they've already kind of started cutting some of the sod back on Ridgecrest. I think that was one of the things on, looks like they've started some preparation work on Ridgecrest. I noticed it yesterday.
It's probably us doing that instead of them, isn't it?
It's like,
Okay.
they mailed it a Warren Street today. They have to be mailed by I started that today.
I'm sorry, we're off topic, I guess now.
Well, we still got a few minutes.
The flooring's been mostly installed upstairs on the second floor and the first floor. There's hardly any flooring left to install up there, so we're getting right down to the final. This really, I feel like, is one of the final items, this emergency light issue.
What's your percentage?
I didn't come prepared.
It's got to be 99 point something.
Yeah, I think we're close to triple digits. I'll just say that.
But that will not get a CO from the fire marshal without this, correct?
Without the lights.
That's right, yeah.
And that's a month out?
I don't know about that.
I thought it was 30 days delivery on the lights or something.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, I'm sorry. Well, then how long does it take to put them up?
I did ask them last week to bend the rules and go ahead and order the lights. So maybe I shouldn't have said that, but maybe they went ahead and did that. And maybe it won't be 2 weeks. So I would guess how long to install? A week?
Surely it don't take a week to put up 4 lights.
So
That's in every stairwell, though, isn't it?
No, there's not 4 in every stairwell. Yeah.
I think there's 2.
There's
stairwell.
3.
3.
Those would be one at each landing.
Yeah.
So 3.
So you got 12 lights.
Yeah.
They got to take down scaffold and put up scaffold.
Mm.
I will say that coming up in the next couple of weeks, we should get some more definitive time frames.
Unless we get another late hit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The fire marshal will do a limited walk for the first one.
Yeah, and I think he's done a few of those. He's there almost every week, so
I mean, he can make sure we can stay ahead of.
yes, I agree. I feel like we are.
He's told staff that he's in town every day. He can stop by to do any kind of preliminary run through before the meeting.
Okay.
He's been really great to work with.
If there's nothing more to come before the ad hoc committee, we'll stand adjourned.
All right, it's 5:40. We'll call the Building and Grounds Committee meeting to order. We have one item on the agenda, that's to discuss hiring a community development director. I feel like this is long overdue, and it's a position that we need to fill. Not having it puts an unnecessary burden on Nolan and him doing his job as city administrator. So I think it's time that we fill this position, and hopefully it'll work out about right to get it into the next fiscal year's budget just about at the right time. So I'll entertain a motion that anyone has to fill this position.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the hiring process.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, we need to get this money in the budget. And so we can have, that part of that budget process is to put that money in there.
Yeah.
And I would start as soon as possible, because by the time you interview people, even if you hired somebody for the end of the financial year, you'd only be paying 1/12 of his salary probably.
Yeah, that's right.
If you hired him in June, you'd have responsibility for 1/12. I think we could find that money. But we just need to go on. You're going to be losing 2 jobs. Civic Center.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just going to drill down that much harder. So can
I
I?
figured stuff would just filter out.
Oh, absolutely. It always does. It always
The
does.
backflush will gets it.
I have a question. Can I ask a question on this? Okay, so this, I'm new here, as everybody knows, although I'm more senior than you by like one meeting. So anyway, what does this process look like historically? And, as far as not only the hiring process, but how are we going to post the job? I know we have to post it internally, or I assume we have to post it internally. And how far outside are we going to advertise? Are we going to think about engaging a recruiter to look at that? If we get a successful hire, are we going to try to post that on a Monster or an Indeed or something like that? How do we want to go about that? Because that's going to be a pretty narrow field of candidates, I would believe. It's going to have to be very targeted, and I don't think that an ad in the Southern Standard is going to get that done.
But there's
Libby-
a lot of government publications, the TML magazine, there's other TML resources. Maybe it should.
Libby, you want to speak
refer
to that?
Libby, yeah.
I sure will. So what we would do, director level, typically if we have a hard to fill job, we do post it internally for 5 days, but we also post externally. A position at this level, we would probably reach out to MTAS. They post it on their site. We do have the newspaper that's free. We can post it on Indeed, but I think posting it through MTAS, and I know such you're going to get more qualified public sector, but it gets out to all of Tennessee.
Okay.
And then I would also like to engage MTAS in the hiring process. So Thursday, Scott and I are going to go to an assessment that they conduct. They come in, they'll do a stakeholder interview with people that are familiar with the job and are familiar with the characteristics that a candidate would need to be successful. They will create an assessment center. They can do a case study, role playing. It depends on what we want them to do. They come in and they run the process. When I say they run the process, they will identify people outside of McMinnville to do the interviews. Scott, myself, and 2 other directors of community development are on the panel Thursday. So while they don't make a final decision, they do not make a recommendation. They take all of the information, and it's got some pretty specific scoring to it based on the characteristics that a successful candidate should possess. And they hand over those results to us to make the final decision.
This is sort of what we did we hired administrator. We got TML involved. They got the advertising out, not only the state of Tennessee, but into Canada. And then they helped us rank them, ones that we really didn't need to look at, not enough experience or that type of thing. So the whole thing, it's a very specific job classification.
Right. So
We were also involved in that process.
Right. Yeah.
So they're basically going to be our recruiters.
But they're free.
Well, right. That's, I just wanted to know that, because I do believe that we need to have some level of recruitment going on this position to be sure that we know the people that we have within the department or within the city government that might be interested in it, but we don't know people outside. We need somebody really to vet those people that's serious and on their game.
Well, they would end up vetting not only the people from outside, but anybody from inside that wanted to do it too.
Okay, great.
They'd vet everybody.
But just keep in mind, we have that decision. So we would determine who we interview and send through the assessment. And then they would give us the results and we would make the final decision.
Well, Warren Nevada had a suggestion that I liked. He said, look for part-time, high quality, like part-time engineer, somebody that was on the brink of retirement, to use them part-time, and you would get high quality and less cost involved.
If we thought.
If that person's available. I don't think we should exclude that,
No,
but I don't know that we can just focus on that for certain.
well, no, but we could look for it.
Well, yeah, we could open it to full or part-time, I would think.
I
Don't you?
think we need to know what we want, and I think we ought to go after, I think we ought to either be looking for a part-time person that's got a high, experience level, or we should go for a full-time person. I think when we start having 2 different jobs, we're talking about 2 different jobs.
I think that we're probably going to, if we just advertise part-time, there's going to be people out there with a family that might be qualified that would probably not look at it. I think that we should paint with as broad a brush as possible at first, because we want to look at more candidates, right? Don't we? I mean, when you want to look at as broad a spectrum of candidate as you can and then refine that down instead of focus on a narrow band and then only get 2 or 3? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I would just look to see what's out there, and then if that pops up, I would consider it.
I need to bring something to the attention of this committee that's ultimately going to have to be passed on to the full board. There's a bit of a discrepancy in the city code about who makes this hire. Under the preliminary portion of it where it's describing the community development director, it states that the board appoints this individual. But in another section of the code, it specifically states that the city administrator hires all department heads. So that obviously is contradictory. So that is something that we're going to have to look at. Because that's just a huge contradiction. So I figured now was as good a time as any to throw that out there and let everybody kind of be throwing that around.
Have we
Let me just say that the board has not been involved with the hiring process for the police chief, public works director,
Yeah,
the wastewater.
sure. And I
We also
understand.
haven't asked to be.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't understand why that contradiction is in there. I'm not giving an opinion one way or the other. I'm just saying we have to address that because that's obviously contradictory.
It's actually a direct conflict. And it's curious because the municipal code was changed and it's referred to numerically as change 4, June 13, 2006. That change in the municipal code provides in section 1-402, and this is chapter 4, Department of Planning and Zoning. It says in section 1-402, appointment and title, the person in charge of the Department of Planning and Zoning shall be known as the Director of Planning and Zoning and shall be appointed by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. That is in the June 13, 2006 adoption of the municipal code. The very same edition of the municipal code provides in 1-705 duties of administrator, number 9, to review all applicants for employment filed for department head positions, to interview applicants and to hire the best, most qualified applicant. The city administrator also has commissioner authority to fire department heads. So you have an internal inconsistency that is a direct conflict, one provision with the other.
Mr.
And I could get into rules of statutory construction, but in the final analysis, I don't think that is a decision between the two conflicting provisions that I should make, or necessarily that any attorney should make, unless there is some black letter law that rules the issue of the conflict.
In your research in that, were you able to find any reason why those changes were made and how that contradiction?
I have no idea. I was not representing
Sure.
the city in 2006 when this version of the code was adopted.
Sure.
I do know, just historically, that there were changes in the duties of the administrator during the tenure of David Rutherford. I don't know if they preceded him or succeeded him, but I know that there were some changes in the responsibilities made. But this is a direct conflict, and I think the only way to resolve the conflict in the code is to address it as a board and modify one section or the other, or both for that matter, but
Or strike one section if need be?
strike one, strike the other, or modify both in some form or fashion. But it's clearly a direct conflict.
Has TML weighed in on this?
No, I postulated the question to Melissa Ashburn, but I haven't received a reply. And Nolan started to say something.
I just said MTS. He said TML, but it would be MTS.
And it should, misspoke if I said MTAS. It is MTAS. Melissa Ashford's a senior counsel, but again, there was a similar question put to her predecessor as senior counsel at MTAS, Sid Helmsley, who was revered across the state for his knowledge of municipal law. He's since passed. That case involved a charter where there was a city council and city manager. Charter than our charter. We're a board of mayor and alderman / administrative charter, and it's a different charter. So that opinion by Helmsley that goes back to 1998, but cites no court opinions, was just his opinion 10, 20 years, 30 years ago on a different type of charter. So it's a conflict that requires resolution.
Well, I don't think that we should hold up.
No,
going,
no.
Looking around for this thing until we can resolve this with putting it on the agenda if we have to.
Of course you can.
So I just don't want to hold up going after somebody.
Mr. Purtle, in the code is community development, or I guess zoning codes, as it was called in this one. Is it the only department that says that? It's for every department?
It's this being the only department being addressed, it's the only chapter I looked at.
Okay.
I'm pretty
I
sure
will
it's other departments as well.
That it says the mayor, the board of mayor and aldermen will,
There are multiple inconsistencies in the municipal code. We engage them on a fairly regular basis, honestly. And that's the reason why we engaged MTAS to codify and bring up to date the municipal code, a task that they started but has not yet been completed.
So this all happened in the same year.
Same,
Meeting?
the board is required to adopt the municipal code and any changes to it.
Yeah.
Both of these provisions that we're discussing were published in Change for June 13, 2006. Both of these sections were codified
Same night?
in the same action.
well, we're running into the finance meeting now. We need to defer back to Mr. Harvey about this committee meeting, and then we can put this on the board agenda for a later date.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Would it be, now I'd like to make a motion that we get Mr. Purtle to evaluate the board versus the administrator in every department, and then give us your opinion on how we need to go forward to resolve this. So later we can resolve this and run that track simultaneously with the track that we're going to go down for a director. So I'll make a motion to, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone have anything else for building and grounds? This meeting's adjourned.
Okay, call the Finance Committee meeting to order. We wanted to recap some of the capital improvements that we decided on back on the goals for 2021. And for the big thing we had Warren down here for. The top four was the Economic Development Board, compensation plan, the Blue Building, and the Aquatic Center. We really wanted to get some input. I want to let Zach go ahead. He's got some good ideas on this, so jump in, Zach, and tell us what you'd like to see.
Thank you, Everett. There's a lot of things that citizens, the board, departments want to see. And I think it's the most transparent way to build confidence in the board and in a plan to gather citizen feedback, look at departmental needs, and start putting that out on a long time range. We have a pretty good understanding of the income we have year over year, and when can we look at doing different projects just like we do in our our businesses or our household, looking for that new car, renovation, kids' needs. So I think identifying what all that list is, whether that's the aquatic center, storm and sewer water, streets, police department, whatever those Morford Street renovation, all those needs, get input. We also have to look at our financial ability. And then the third thing I think we need to look at in terms of prioritization is guidelines, requirements, and expirations. There's expirations on roofs, as we're coming to find out. So if we gather all that information, we can put those two together and create a priority. Helps us understand what we need to put into this next budget cycle to begin some capital savings. And then it also gives everybody some idea of timeline long-term. I think this will go beyond this budget cycle. We're going to need some time to kind of really work through the finances, but we'll be able to project when are these projects going to get done in 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years. And I think it's a dynamic type of thing and it can change. It's not a commitment or promise, but it's a plan. With that, Nolan and I talked a little bit about a poll that we could use, and we've got this up here. So the first question is essentially a ranking of the following in order of priority. This is for citizens. Urban trail system with bike lanes and walking paths, sidewalks, street paving, improved stormwater infrastructure to reduce flooding, new police station, greenway extension, Morford Street, Main Street improvements, phase 3 of downtown revitalization, new indoor pool and aquatic center. This is on SurveyMonkey. They can move it up and down however they want. And then number 2 is what other projects are not on the city list that we should consider and why. This kind of breaks us out of the shell of this is what we need and getting some citizen input that we might not be hearing here in our meetings.
One other thing I'd like to do too, we've got so many people moving into this area. I'd like to get to work with the realtors if we could and maybe get this kind of form out to them that they can give to their new homeowners, be it completely anonymous. And, why did they move to McMinnville? What would they like to see in McMinnville? We're getting an influx, and I don't care if we accept stuff from people that don't live in the city, outside the city, because they use our facilities too. When it comes to the rec center, probably half the people that come to there don't live in the city. We still don't answer to them, but we can certainly take their suggestions and look at them. So I'd like to, like I said, working with the realtors to, put this thing out. I don't know how many people are going to be, messing around with the monkey.
Well, it's really easy. It's a quick link. We can post it on social media. We can also get hard copies out. We can put them out at the parks. But we want to try to get input, and that way we can get it back as we work on budgeting and have that in for knowing what we need to start working on for the next meeting.
I just have my doubts that we can get enough back in quick enough that we get the budget process started, because we're having to start here pretty darn quick. Now, I know Nolan has already had preliminary meetings with his department heads, but we're going to have to sit down and start having heart-to-hearts with all the department heads, the finance committee. We got nonprofits to do.
With this poll, we could have it out circulating tonight. If the committee is willing to move forward to get more feedback. I think the realtor survey is something we can work on and we can develop over the next couple of meetings. I think this, takes, at least 3 or 4 meetings for us to really nail down all the nuts and bolts of the finance with it. But I'd like to get the survey results back from the city, and it can be ongoing. Just like the realtor survey, we can have that plugged into our onto our website, and when a realtor comes through, they can direct them to our website.
We can use that same format, other than to maybe add a couple of questions. Why did you move here? What would you like to see here?
Exactly.
Those kind of things.
I certainly see no harm in it. think
I
it's
don't
a
either.
good
I don't
idea.
think we can get it done before we get into serious budget stuff. No, I don't see any.
One way to find out.
Katie, you just did a bike survey. How many responses did you have in the first 2 weeks?
In the first 2 weeks, we had 235 responses. And part of what we did, that was the real key, was we gave it to the schools. And the schools sent it out in, I think it's text message and maybe another form of media. And we got a huge influx of responses from sharing it with the schools. So it's really about how you share it. And sharing it across many different platforms and with many different partners.
Yeah, the problem is that was a targeted thing. We're looking for a lot more general information than something really targeted. But no, I don't have any objection to it at all. If it does, if we get in on time, fine, we use it. If we don't,
Well, and then we can leave it open. I mean, through this whole process, we can leave it open and see if, as people contribute to it, whether the statistics vary. But I think it at least gives us kind of a preliminary reading to incorporate the citizen feedback with those two other parts of prioritization in terms of guidelines, requirements, and expirations, and then also the financial ability. How that blends together comes up with, what we can make a priority for and a timeline for. So my motion would be that we, I guess, put forth this survey to get citizen feedback.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye. One other thing that has come up, and I need to stir up another can of worms, but I've had a lot of questions about the aquatic center on the top list. Since we're just spending $9.2 million for the record center. I've talked with probably our most vocal proponent of this, sitting right here. And I think what she's looking for is not to build one tomorrow, but to try
But no.
yeah, but to try to start a process that may be 2 or 3 years, maybe longer, depending upon what kind of things we're getting at. And any money that would come into financing these things would be in the budget for Parks and Rec. But very small amounts of money, trying to find out funding, what are the costs, expense costs after we put it in, the benefit to the community, and the extent of the project. How far do we go? Do we just build a lane pool? Do we build hot tubs? There's a list, and you can add things from here to eternity. So I think that, we need to look at that long-term perspective and see what we can do. The other thing, we've been told by the quote friends of the pool, I don't know if that's their official name or not, but that we can get a $2 million pool, and every official estimate we had was $5 to $6 million. So there's a big gap here.
Well, that's because somebody came down and gave us, the best $10 million pool. I mean, that wasn't really what we had expected to be presented.
Those are things that need to be resolved.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not only what can you get. I mean, I can't see this project happening anytime soon without sponsorship support or grant support. I just, it's, if it is 5 or 6 million, I mean, 2 million is a whole different ballgame, but.
Well, if you talk to the pool people, they say this is a 3 to 5 year planning.
Cycle.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't have in front of me, but the dates and the amounts that we're going to spend in the next fiscal year on that, we're very little.
Yeah,
It was just,
you're talking chump change in the whole big perspective of things. You might have to, a lot of this is going to be just digging and
Yes.
finding out where there are grants, where there are sponsorships, will Bridgestone step up? Will a lot of these, I keep hearing all these things, but nobody's quantified them and put them down on paper for us.
Well, it's because it's too soon. Civic Center is not open yet. I don't, if we want to start planning, I think that's fine, but as far as nailing down a grant, I don't think we can do that quite yet.
No, but you can find out what grants are out there. You
Yeah,
know,
well,
most of
there
these
are.
grants go from year to year. It's not
Yes.
just a one-time thing. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because there's been some negative feedback about that. I don't think that people understood what we wanted to do. We're looking out, like you said, 3 to 5 years, or however long it takes.
Well, yeah, I think it'll be a process. So do you want to change that on,
No, I want you to figure out how much money you're going to have to put in the budget to do all this.
right, okay. But,
You could work with Scott or, you know,
right, but on the resolution, it says plans drawn and funding plan by April 2022, and that's probably not realistic.
no, but you know, you can see what it's going to take to get to that point.
Okay, that's fine, we'll leave it.
How much money is it going to cost us in 2021
Yeah, okay,
or not 2021, 22 to do this?
okay, that's good.
Anything else on finance?
So with that being said, does that resolve, because it was, the motion was to table that based on the financial implications of the strategic plan. So does that resolve
Yeah,
our financial implications?
the reason I
of the strategic
tabled it
plan?
is I wanted to be able to get to the budget process. I don't want to sit down and try to decide what we need until we go through the budget process and she tells us, or that department tells us how much they need to start this process.
Could I ask a question? Just, I want to go back just a little bit and be sure that I'm didn't miss something because I am ADD. So, okay, Survey Monkey was for us to find out from the community what people actually want us to see, correct? But immediately after that, we're talking about making a decision to go forward on researching funding and everything for an aquatic center. Don't you think that's cart before the horse? If we're actually going to take the time to put a survey out to the community, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what they think. We need to get that.
I think the aquatic center is out there regardless of what we think of it. I mean, whether I want it or anybody wants it, it's out there in people's minds.
Well,
There's a lot of
but what happens if
support
it's
for it
number
already.
10?
I'm sorry?
What happens if it's
Well-
number 10 and there's $20 million in front of it?
We don't spend the money, you know.
Right, this is not about whether it's on our radar. It's on our radar. It's about how close is it to the striking point. And so I certainly know that there's a lot of people that have approached me that want to see this happen. But I think we have other needs too, that we need to balance it out. So I think that they're appropriate to do a lot of the research. And the only thing that concerns me is drawing up plans. All the rest of it is legwork in terms of getting together a plan and doing some research.
Well, you're not going to get a plan drawn for less than 5 to 6% of the budget. Okay, so if you're looking at $10 million, it's $600,000. So that can't happen.
We're not talking about plans. We're not talking about plans at all.
Okay, so if we're going to throw,
It's in the description.
it's in the resolution, which is a hard no from
Then we'll
me.
change it.
Okay, but so this is and I don't want to belabor the point, but I just want to be clear about this. So basically, we're talking about spending some money, even though it may be small money, it's still money. We're talking about spending money on that project, but all the other possibilities on Survey Monkey, we're not talking about spending any money to research. And everybody in this town knows that we need freaking roads paved. You know, I mean, that's it. We know that. So if there's anything else on that list that might have to have the same research, I don't think that we should take a priority with the aquatic center over anything else that's on that list.
Well, it may not, depending upon, we're not going to take that list and it's not going to be the end all and be all as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be an aid, but we're not going to take that and say, okay, people want to do this, so we're going to go do it tomorrow. I think this is just another aid to help us.
And there's no expense here except for the plans being drawn. And like Ever just said, that would be amended.
Okay,
when
so
we bring it back.
so we're
up
not talking about spending any money. Because that's not what I heard a few minutes ago.
Correct.
Okay, 0 funds.
No. If it takes $5,000 to get some work done that they can't do because of,
That's exactly my point, because that's what I thought I heard. So we're basically picking winners and losers from this list right here. And so we're asking for the community input, but this board in that vein right there is picking a winner and a loser by putting money out potentially to pick a favored project up there.
it wouldn't bother me one bit if the aquatic center came in dead last there to say, we're not going to spend that money.
Well,
I mean, that's the choice of this board.
Well,
But
I
it also made
understand.
the strategic plan last time. It made the list.
Well, it made the list, but that doesn't mean that it's going to make the deal, because we have to answer to our voters, not the 7 of
We would
us.
ever have any money for it in the next year. I think that we should work towards things and plan for them. There's been a lot of talk about a pool for years, and they're for 20 years. And, you've got to be ready. And that's what I said when it made this list. I don't want to sit around and not be ready.
What are the costs? I mean, besides the plans being drawn,
Besides
what are
plans,
the
what
costs?
does any of
What's the
that
cost?
cost?
I don't see a cost at this point right now.
I wouldn't have any idea. That's what I want you to come back and tell us.
That's right.
Okay? Just tell us what you think, what you think if you're going to need some money to, I don't know, have somebody come in here and explain it to
And
you.
give
I
us
don't
a
know.
presentation on what it takes, what your options are, and that kind of thing would be next.
I don't know what those costs are, if there are any costs, but we're talking minuscule type things here. I'm not knocking it off the list or putting it on the list. It's just already there.
I mean, listen, it's not up to me. I'm just saying that if we were sitting here having it just seemed, I don't even know the proper adjective. It just seemed off for us to have a survey out to the public seeking input. And then we're sitting here in this board, basically fingering one of those, and we're willing to throw some money at it. It just,
Street paving's on that list and we're already doing that.
well, I understand, but that's in the budget every year. And it was capital, the title of that was capital improvements. Okay, street paving is a maintenance item as much as a capital improvement. So we got to figure out what we're talking about. And
So should it be in the survey?
well, I think that,
If it's in the budget every year, should we even have it on the survey?
well, my point is that I think from the outside looking in, that somebody's going to think there's some home cooking here on this board when we put a survey out, but we're already fingering a research on an aquatic center when we don't even know if there's enough support within the community to want that.
We do this all the time based on what our knowledge is, okay? It's nothing that we don't go out there and look at something without any input from the citizens, because we know intrinsically that they need this particular thing, whether it be paving, whether it be whatever. That's the reason we have an audience out here, so people can come in and listen to us talk about that kind of stuff. It's the reason that they have it on the newspaper, it's on the radio. I mean, we can't just all of a sudden stop everything waiting on a survey to come in and not take some initiative on some things that have already been identified.
I guess my point is that's the only one, Mr. Broad. I believe that if
Come up with another one that needs something put in the budget. And
well, right there they are. Urban trail. I mean, just read the survey.
I think that the discrepancy we have here is we're talking about the strategic plan, which is talking about something that the whole board needs to discuss, and we need to amend the aquatic center to reflect what we're talking about right here. So I'd like to table this discussion until unfinished business, where we can actually take action on the strategic plan.
Okay, understand.
Yeah, we can, and by committee, we can take the plans part out of the thing. If you want to do that, you can do it right now.
I think that would, we need the whole board involved with the strategic plan, unless the finance committee wants to make a recommendation.
Well, we do.
Okay. I would recommend that we remove the design and plans from the strategic plan and add in 2 components. One is findings for operational and maintenance costs of having an indoor swimming pool. And then the second would be how it would be funded, including sponsorship and grant resources to minimize taxpayer burden. So those are two things I would add for underneath the planning session.
And that motion is recommended to the full board for later on tonight, correct?
Correct.
I'll second.
All right. Motion's made. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else to come before the finance committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
since you're talking about capital improvements, can I take the time you have left to
Sure.
share with some information?
Yeah, we got another 15 minutes or another 10 minutes.
As you know, in passing first reading on the ordinance to acquire the Pace Setters building, we did in fact ink a contract with a closing date by May 17. Our buyer agent, Tommy Foster, provided me late this evening with some photographs of the property that I thought you might want to see before second reading. You recognize the building if you're familiar at all with the Pace Setters building. It's down behind the three-way red light intersection, separated by a very deep ravine and a controlled access fence. You're seeing on the right-hand side the quote front of the property of the building that faces the highway. This is the side nearest town. And if you'll scroll on up. These are some interior shots. It's in a rather high state of repair, surprisingly so, since it hasn't been used for much for a while now. There's some of the restrooms. The HVAC systems on the left and on the right is just a large open area on the front entrance. There are finished offices, rooms, whatever you choose to refer to them. There's a drop ceiling throughout the heated and cool space, which is approximately 5,000 square feet of heated and cool space, 9,000 square feet of unheated and cool space. You see the kitchen, the electrical. On the right is the, well, it's an open area. I wouldn't call it a garage. It's really not a garage, but it's a lot of open space.
You remember what the ceiling heights were on those?
No, I don't. I actually relied on Tommy to do the inspection, although Scott accommodated us and did a flyover with the city's drone to inspect the roof, and it looked to be very intact. And is that the last slide? No, there's a few more.
I think the old manufacturing area is heated, air conditioned and cooled too. Those big outside units are it. There's 3 outside units.
If you go up to the last two, that's more or less the back. The shop garage space is in the rear of the building, and then the office space, conference rooms, et cetera, space is on the front of the building. And if you'll go up to the very final slide, that's how the front of the space, the office or space is laid out. There are 2 large rooms, 20 by 35 on one end, 15 by 30 on the front corner. The kitchen is 24 by 28, and 2, 4, 6, 7 finished office spaces or rooms. We've already engaged Michael Moore to sell the property. First National Title is going to conduct the closing on or before May 17, our deadline. And we're reaching out to a resource Nathaniel provided for an EPA phase 1 inspection, just to make sure there are no environmental issues.
We have a whole harmless on that.
We have affirmative representation.
Okay, that it's their responsibility.
They've affirmatively represented that there are no environmental issues on the property or previous uses by the property that would raise an environmental issue. But we'll do a phase 1 just to cover that.
We're paying for the phase 1.
Sure.
That's about $5,000.
No, I don't think it'll be that much.
Okay.
I'm expecting it to be a good raise. But it will be within the administrator's authority.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions at the second reading?
Give us a tour. Anything else? Anybody else have anything for finance committee? Not, we stand adjourned.
Yeah, you're sitting right.
It's got the story of the song, and it is phenomenal. They
must be trolling these
They
places.
surprisingly have some really good stuff. In the back, they've got like a glass encased cabinet where they can put good stuff.
Yeah.
And they've got some our bottles and stuff from there. Yeah.
I'm nosy, I'm listening.
Liquor store behind the sign. Shopping center.
Yeah.
What you think about? That's what I was just telling. He and I go after some bourbons occasionally. And he's always got one for me. And I go out and buy it and they're all good. So I'm breaking up with spending all my social security money, but
This one for that is as good as even if it's a short far more expensive.
What is it?
Knob Creek, Niagara, it's better.
Yeah.
It's just gonna go down. I agree.
We have 2 graduations.
So what did your dad bring back
They made to last
for the
year
bourbon tour?
to this year.
And
She sent it to me to go. How'd you come there?
I read
Like
another
man,
one
those
the other
walking in,
day.
but that's James Cressley,
Something we got recently.
who has the property across the street.
Let's say,
Sir?
she sent it to me.
Is it? Mine says 24. Got it.
Everybody's on it, I guess.
All right, at this time, I'd like to call a meeting of the Water and Sewer Committee together, please. How you doing, Ricky? Good. The purpose, we got 2 items on the agenda tonight. Number 1 is to consider selling the old sewer camera equipment and van as surplus. And then we have option, or item B is to consider an increase for the cost for the force main sewer tap. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the sewer increases that we approved last time were for traditional gravity fed sewer. This is a force main. So if someone has a low-lying home, there's an ejector pump that requires it to go out, so that it's not the same issue that we had last time. And with that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Ricky so he can explain to us about the surplus equipment.
Okay, on that surplus equipment, remember last year we replaced the sewer TV equipment with the trailer. This equipment that we've got is the van that it's in is an 85 model, and the equipment is 2007. So talked to Sansom Equipment, and they put a value on the old camera equipment at 10,000. So figure the van's probably worth 2 it runs. So we kind of put 12,000 on it. We could sell it through TAUD, try that. We've actually put the old generator that we didn't sell before. So it's on TAUD's website. Hadn't had any calls on it yet, but we may come back and have to lower our price on both of them. But I'd like to put a value of 12,000 on this. Just declare it as surplus property. And we may even could go to, if it don't sell this way, go through Gov Deals and try to sell it there.
Does anybody have any questions?
What is this service that you're putting it on, not Gov Deals?
It's the Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. On their websites, they have classifieds. Other utilities can look at it. And
Is
see
it
if
worth
they-
anything to anybody? I mean, it still works.
It somewhat. Sansom Equipment basically put a value of 10 on it.
There,
there are companies that you hire independently to camera sewer lines. And the reason I say that, would there be any just business owners that might be interested in a piece of equipment like that?
Other people that work on sewer lines could be interested, but if we could advertise it and through the paper and tell them where it's at, if they want to come look at it that way first and try to sell it first, you're going to do it that way.
And it's serviceable, right?
Yes.
So it could be employed today if someone purchased it.
They would have to do some upgrades on it. But
So does anybody else have any other questions about this? And I'd entertain a motion to declare that as surplus property and offer it for sale.
So moved. I'll second that.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So the next item we have is option B, and as I mentioned, just as a precursor, to talk about the increase for the force main sewer. And again, the rates that we passed before were for traditional water taps and gravity fed sewer. This has to do with a grinder pump and an ejector pump through a smaller main to get it to a gravity fed line. And Ricky, how many of these things do we normally within a year? How many do we deal with?
it's hit and miss. It just depends on, they could do 5, they could do 10, they could do 2.
Okay.
It's hit and miss. A lot of these are on the areas such as like Newtown where Smith Terrace is taking place now. Anybody that wants to get annexed to where we have a force main, which what this would do, it would add $250 to the cost of the E1 stations because that tap fee is actually built into the E1 station. So you would have what we agreed to before, what was changed. If it didn't have any footage with it, it was like $5,000 for the station, and it was $5,250 if we did up to 100 feet. So it would add $250 if we set a tap. It would add $250 to that station if they let you cross the station, or so I call the tap, because there's an existing tap there. So, but it would add $250 to the tap.
And again, we're just covering our direct expenses on this right now, just as we voted the last time.
Yes.
You also, the last time, voted to look at it every year,
Correct.
so that we didn't get behind the 8 ball.
Right, and I think we'd probably do that as an entire department. Look at all of these issues. But does anybody have any questions about why we need that increase? If not, I'd entertain a motion to increase this 1.25 inch force main tap to $1,145 from the current cost of $850, just to cover our direct expenses.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And at this time, there's no further business with this committee. We'll adjourn. Thank you.
Okay, so further down, it says what it has.
We will call to order a public hearing. The city of McMinnville will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 27th, 2001 at 6:45 at 6 City Hall to hear comments on amending the zoning ordinance of McMinnville, Tennessee to include the use of general contractors and specialty contractors' office and enclosed storage in general commercial and highway commercial districts. The public is invited to attend and provide comments on this matter.
Fan talking to you? Fan talking to you?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It'll stop in a minute.
Yeah, when the temperature gauge goes down.
I think he just turned it off, so we may need to look at that.
I believe that was sufficient time to allow for public comment. We will consider this public hearing closed.
It's 9-year-old, small batch.
Is 7 o'clock. We will call to order this regularly scheduled session of the McMinnville City Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The first item on the agenda is roll call.
All the board members are present. Mayor Testoni.
Thank you. The second item on the agenda is consideration of minutes. Each member of the board should have received a copy in their packet. If there be no requests for additions, corrections, or deletions, I will entertain a motion to dispense with them as read.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Brock and a second by Mr. Steve Harvey. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item 3 on the agenda is recognition of visitors. If any member of the audience here this evening wishes to address the board, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Carla Savage. And when it comes to this, I just use my office address of 101 West Main Street, McMinnville. And I'm here for Relay for Life. You asked for me to come back and let you know what we are doing. So we are doing June 5th. We are downsizing. So all we want is on the fountain side of Court Square. Close the streets about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We probably will have some food trucks that will want to move in beforehand. So don't know exactly what time, but I'm thinking maybe, I just don't want to say what time. But if the spots are available, they'll probably just pull on in and not bother any traffic or anything like that. Not last year, but year before. And I don't know who did that. The police department may have had somebody to do that, but there was signs put up saying streets are closing so-and-so time. Please make sure your vehicle is moved so that they're not in the way by 4 o'clock. Could we get that done again? I don't know if the safety guys, I don't remember who did that. I'll check. Okay. We will need the stage, the bleachers, as our original application requested. Only about 10 tables, 50 chairs, 8 garbage cans, and of course, just the electricity on that side of the street. We'll go to the lot. We'll use the stage, the bleachers, everything there at the lot. Main Street, of course, is going to be open this year. We're not closing Main Street. We will close Depot Street, but we won't close it. We'll pull it on up to somewhere right around there at the chamber where people can go in both sides to park. We think this will be over somewhere between 9 and 9:30 because we'll have the food booths. They'll start about 5:30. Auction will start at 7, recognition, and then auction will start about 7. Then the luminaria ceremony, and we will do the luminaria ceremony if it's dark right after the auction. So we could be cleaned up and down by 9:30 is what we're thinking. So as soon as we can get out, we'll want the streets back open for you.
So Carla, just to clarify in regards to the streets, just the fountain side of Court
Just the
Square
fountain side.
and the small section of Depot Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll want police or, like I said in the letter, police or safety officers, just to make sure anybody crossing the street, just for safety, we want to keep that. That's one of our big things is safety. not get anybody hurt. So, and I don't know if you want to use police there or if you want to use the safety officers. Yeah. Okay. And of course, like I said, we're like everybody else, all the nonprofits, we've hurt, but we have got to keep raising money for our research. So we appreciate you greatly for letting us come and enjoy the beautiful downtown McMinnville.
No problem. We've got your letter under communications on the agenda, so we'll take our little vote on that down there.
Oh,
But thank
see,
you.
they said I wasn't on there, so that's. the
Well,
reason I
you
didn't.
weren't, but I added you on there myself, so
See, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
we'll take care of you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dennis Cronlich, live at 207 River Drive. I'm here on behalf of the Senior Center. For those that are not aware, we have reopened as of last week. It's not a full 5-day a week. We're currently open on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We're not open on Wednesday because we have a meal program that we have takeout, and under the current protocol that we're required to follow through the state, we can't have served open meals at this point based on the COVID protocols that we're honoring, and we've got pretty good participation from our seniors. They recognize the necessity. They're doing the social distancing. We can't mandate a mask, but we suggest a mask be worn. Most of the people that are attending have been vaccinated, so we're pleased with that. The hours are on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, or 8:30 to 11. No, I'm sorry, 8:30 to 11:30, and then again from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock. The reason we're doing that is during the lunch hour, we are going through and cleaning, wiping down tables, make sure we just stay safe. And we don't have a wide variety of activities. We're doing traditional things. We do have some people coming in from the various health providers doing blood pressures and that type of thing. We're doing bingo. We're having some programs. We had a good program today. We had about 30 people in attendance. We do have a limitation on how many people can be in the building at one time. But in any event, those are the hours, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we're real pleased. I'd like to also, if you're not aware, but our director, Lana Whitlock, received a letter, a certificate of appreciation from the county commission for the work she's done, particularly with county government. Early on, she was making sure that PPE was getting passed around. She also organized with the county and with Graves Pharmacy COVID clinics. I think she's done 14 of them now. In addition, she has serviced seniors throughout the pandemic that while we were closed, she was making sure that people who had need for food, for groceries, for prescriptions to be filled, who did not have a way to get to those things, or for safety, did not want to go into businesses, etc. She was engaged in making sure that anybody that called her, their needs were met. So, and that was part of the reason she was cited for her work. Anyway, we're real proud of her. She's done a fantastic job throughout the COVID. In any event, I also would like to, just as a private citizen, say that I had the benefit of a tour today that was open to Breakfast Rotary of the Rec Center. And quite frankly, I was blown away. I had seen some pictures and I had heard things, but I was not prepared for the facility that I saw. It's outstanding, and I think it's something we can all be very proud of. And it just reminded me of if you rehab it, they'll come. And I think we're going to see a lot of people utilizing the facility. And it's first class. I think it's probably going to be the premier civic rec center in Middle Tennessee. And I just wanted to thank Nolan and Scott for the job they did in overseeing the work. They thought of everything. And I was just really impressed. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Crum, I've got two questions at the moment. Thank you very much for y'all's work at the senior center. First of all, have y'all resumed exercise classes by chance up there?
Well, you'd never know it looking at me, but I will be teaching exercise classes twice a week. Next week, we're starting off, just simply, we'll have a walking class. We'll probably start in the mall. And I'm hoping to maybe get with Scott and work something out that we can use the walking track. Some accommodation can be made. We will also have when the weather permits, we will use the Greenway. And that'll be at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, we will have an exercise program that I will lead. I've been attending another one just to kind of get in shape. In any event, yeah, so we are opening those things up, and we are going to be adding things as we get further removed from COVID, obviously.
Fantastic. My second question is, would the senior center be interested in being a location that we could put this most recent poll? I don't know if you're here for the finance committee meeting.
Absolutely.
That way we can make sure we get their input as well.
Yes, absolutely. We would love to have the survey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a couple of things too. One of the other things that Lana has done out there virtually on her own and with some volunteers is served hundreds of meals on Wednesday. I mean, I get my meals out there on Wednesday, and it's $4, and it's a decent meal. It's a good meal, and they will serve anywhere between 100 and 125. That's been going on for almost the whole pandemic.
We sold out for tomorrow's meeting.
Yeah. And the other thing is I don't know if you've seen it, but there's new governmental regulations that just came out today from the governor, lifting all
restrictions.
I don't know what's going to happen as far as CDD and the people that you deal with.
We'll have to follow TCAD's guidelines because that affects our funding for sure. But hopefully,
new swimming pool, indoor swimming pool.
Indoor swimming pool, right. But one other thing I'd like to add, and you reminded me, Everett, we have done some cosmetic renovations at the senior center. We'll be able to accommodate more exercise participants because of the way we've moved some walls and different things. So we'd love you to come by and see what we've done out there and visit with us and just see what we're about. Thank you.
Mayor, City Council. My name is Don Veazey. I live at 2271 John Oliver Road in McMinnville, and I am the president and CEO of the McMinnville Warren County Chamber of Commerce. And I have been here for a whole 30 days. So I'm learning about everything, and I've met several of you, I think, and I've seen several of you before. I'll give you just a short, brief background of myself. Don't hate me for this one, but I'm a graduate of the University of Kentucky. And
get out.
Any other Kentucky fans here? I know, I understand that. I have an MBA from Pepperdine University. I spent 26 years in the Air Force. I retired as a lieutenant colonel. I mainly was dealing with special operations, and I was also the navigator for the Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So I got to travel around the world. And then once I got out of the military, I've been in chamber work now for about 15 years, running small chambers. I was the president and CEO of the Brentwood Cool Springs Chamber here in Tennessee, and also the general manager of the Pensacola Chamber, which is a staff of 25 and a budget of $3.5 million. My wife and I are here. You may have seen it in the paper. I have alpacas if anybody needs any fleece. I'll be happy to try and get you some fleas when we share our alpacas. But I'm happy to be here and happy to work with you and hopefully be able to meet with you individually. Do you have any questions for me? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Carrie Morton, 942 Indian Mound Drive. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I got to sit in on a meeting. So it was the capital improvements meeting. Zach, I really like your idea about putting a poll out. I think that's a good thing. Maybe we should have got that cart before maybe you guys had a meeting yourselves. I think maybe it would have been a little more productive as far as figuring out what everybody in McMinnville really wants to see. I think that would have been a good idea, but I like your poll. My one thing is, I don't think that people outside the city limits should get a vote on anything as far as that goes. It's not their money. It's like somebody coming into your house telling you what kind of improvements you need to do when it's not their money they're spending. So that was my only thing on that. I do love a poll. I would like to know where we're going to be able to find it at. Is that going to be up on the McMinnville.tn.gov website?
Katie, you want to speak to that?
Well, I mean,
No, sorry.
we can share it anywhere you want. It's a link. It'll be shared through Facebook, our website,
Okay.
Twitter,
Okay.
wherever.
So,
And real quick,
yes.
to the question about voting if you are not a city resident, one of the last questions is, are you a city resident
Thank you.
or county resident? So
Thank you.
that will allow us to parse those out.
Okay. And also too, is there a way to put that in the newspaper? Because there are lots of older folks that don't do that. They could do a mail-in. I mean, you could put the address at the bottom and let them mail it in. You'd be surprised at how many people will do a mail-in.
Yeah, I think we can even use some of our internal systems for utility billing to
Okay.
send some
Awesome.
of this information out. So
That's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is recognition of employees. We have several department heads here this evening. Does any department head wish to give a shout out to any of your employees this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, communications. First item under communications is item 5A, a letter from Tanera Grissom, chairperson for project graduation, requesting permission to hold a parade for the graduating class of 2021 through downtown McMinnville on Sunday, May the 23rd. Tanera, you want to come up?
Hi, my name is Tanera Grissom, and I am here on behalf of Project Graduation. My personal address is 226 Catherine Street. We are asking the city to allow us to have a rolling roadblock. I've talked to Chief Deputy Mike Lane. He's willing to help us with that. They had the parade last year. It was a big hit. Of course, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. This year graduation, they are going to allow 6 people per senior to come. So we thought this would be a good way for those family members who couldn't come to graduation, see their seniors spotlight during the parade. We're going to start at Warren County Senior High parking lot. Grand Swallows, Park George have both agreed to let us use the parking lot. We would come up through Morrison Street, which is Westwood, through, I guess that would be East Main Street there by Hardee's, through Security Federal downtown, and then we would disperse at Pioneer Pediatrics. There'll be no meeting, no party or anything like that. Nothing will be thrown from the cars. They'll all be personal vehicles. We are working on an insurance policy with Hoover and Son. And I think that's about it.
Chief, any issues with the route or anything?
No, I think we done the route we did last year. There's people that be walking this time, because I think there was some that kind of, where it was stolen, there was some that involved.
Okay, I didn't
I just
know.
wondered, yeah, if they were.
I can say no walkers. I don't know. I guess maybe somebody walked at the beginning with a banner maybe.
Yeah, I think they had a banner or something. They were walking.
And I think it was mostly 2 students per car. They have to sign a permission slip if they're under 18. A parent can drive them. It's pretty low maintenance, I think, I hope.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a
It
motion.
Worked out pretty good last year,
It
right?
was fantastic last year, and it's so spread out too, that you're not right up on each other downtown too. And it'll be on a Sunday afternoon, so hopefully it won't disturb too much traffic.
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion by Mr. Steve Harvey
Second.
and a second by Mr. Everett Brock. All in favor of approving the letter? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Item B under communication is a letter from Blaine Wiltshire requesting use of the Farmers Market Pavilion for a monthly cruise-in on the first Saturday of each month from April to October. There's a letter enclosed in the packet. This is something that we've been doing for several years and have allowed them to use the Farmers Market lot and pavilion. I don't see him or anybody from the organization here tonight. Scott, do you know of anything new or anything that they?
Johnny usually comes and has a key and he has the rest of it.
Okay, no questions or concerns on your part? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve Mr. Wiltshire's letter for the cruise-ins.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey,
Second.
second by Ms. Sally Brock. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 5C is a letter from Bobby Kirby regarding the McMinnville City Triathlon, a proposal for 2021. His letter you all had distributed. I think he emailed it to us as well. This is something that they've done for several years as well. They didn't have it. Yeah, they didn't have it last year due to COVID, but they are looking to resume it this year. And as far as I know, it's the same setup. It's the same route for the running, the biking. I believe the police department, sheriff's department help with that. Correct, chief? Okay. Scott, do you have any questions or concerns?
I think everything is the same. We did,
Yeah.
I think, need extra cones. That was kind of the thing, was cones.
Okay, and everything's good on your end though, Scott? All right, well, I entertain a motion to approve Mr. Kirby's letter.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Everett Brock.
Second.
Second by Mr. Steve Harvey. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 5D is a letter from Miss Carla Savage regarding Relay for Life this year. She spoke previously. I will entertain a motion to approve her letter.
So moved.
Have a motion by Miss Sally Brock,
Second.
a second by Miss Rachel Kirby. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 6 on the agenda is petitions. There are no petitions in the packet. Item 7 is unfinished business. Does any member of the board have any unfinished business to bring before the board this evening? Hearing none,
Mayor,
yes, sir.
Do we want to bring up resolution 2128?
That is, well, I had it under I guess that could go under unfinished business since that was discussed previously. In committee this evening, we discussed resolution 2128 regarding how's it phrased? The capital improvements plan. And the proposal was in committee was to remove item 3B, which designates plans drawn and funding plan by April 2022 for an aquatic center, and instead add find costs for building and maintenance of that project. Is that correct?
Two aspects. It's funding plan that would include sponsorships, grants, and other sources of income to reduce the taxpayer costs. And then the other aspect was identifying the operational and maintenance costs of having the facility for the annual budget.
Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion in regards to that amendment to this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey,
Second.
a second by Mr. Everett Brock. I guess since this is a resolution, we will have to take a roll call vote.
Everett Brock,
Aye.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Stacy Harvey,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby. Yes. Zach Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Yes, motion passes. Any other unfinished business?
Now, that's the amendment.
That's amendment we have to vote
Yeah.
on.
Full-
So now we will consider resolution, the original resolution 2128
As amended.
as amended. I have a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Steve Harvey,
Second.
second by Miss Sally Brock. Call for the vote.
Everett Brock,
Aye.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Stacy Harvey,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby. Yes. Zach Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to item 8, new business. Due to time constraints involving an item under new business, we need to suspend the rules involving public notice to go ahead and pass this through so that we can get the final touches on the Civic Center. So I will entertain a motion in that regard.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Everett Brock. Second by Ms. Rachel Kirby. All in favor? Aye. The item that needs to be discussed now is to approve change order number 79. I'll let Mr. Ming provide comment on it for the record.
Under consideration is change order number 79. This request is in response to revision request number 15 to add emergency lighting to the stairwells 1, 2, 3, and 4. It excludes painting of any conduit. So anyways, this goes back to an issue that was missed by the architect. They neglected to add emergency lighting in the stairwells as required. So approval of such is required for our C of O.
So basically, the fire marshal will not approve that certificate of occupancy unless we have these lights in place. So there's no way around this. So I will entertain a motion to approve that change directive.
So one last thing, sorry, as a construction change directive.
Construction change directive. I have a motion by Ms. Rachel Kirby,
Second.
second by Mr. Steve Harvey. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. The next item under new business is discussing opening the city pool. Just today, actually, the governor has more or less lifted all of the health restrictions in regards to COVID-19. Last year, because of the pandemic, we had to modify the pool schedule, the number of people allowed in, and things of that nature. So I will allow Mr. McCord to speak regarding opening the pool this year.
As you know, last year, we handled the pandemic. I believe we went from 2 sessions to 1 sessions. We set 300 as our limit at the time. As I said, the governor's lifted all his restrictions today as of midnight. The CDC's done reporting that outdoor gatherings and vaccinations should be safe. I'm just here to ask, how would y'all like for us to proceed? We can proceed fully opening the pool. We're ready to do that. Would you like us to restrict the numbers? We would keep to cleaning and doing everything that's recommended by CDC and all. I mean, as of right now, maximum occupancy is 800 people.
What's the date of opening?
Memorial Day weekend, so we're a hair over a month away.
So it'd be beyond the May 14th.
Scott, may I ask you a question? On how much time does it take to sanitize all the surfaces that you need to as you went through last year, even with 300? How much time does that take the staff?
We had hired extra staff to go around and clean, but as we found out, most of those items are, we keep the pool highly chlorinated, and those items didn't really need to be as clean as much as we need, but we do keep the bathrooms clean. The pool's vacuumed on a regular basis. I mean, it was no problem. I think anybody who came last year, we were on it.
Only suggestion that I would have with that, just a suggestion, is that if we were going to have, whatever we decide to do, if we're going to have full occupancy, might want to change the hours a little bit so we're not paying overtime or anything like that for anybody to do that kind of stuff. If it was 30 minutes, might back it up 30 minutes, close it 30 minutes earlier, whatever. That way we get that within a standard work week for the staff. But if they don't have overtime in doing that, it would be moot.
Well, it's all seasonal, so there is no overtime.
Okay, so that doesn't apply to any of your staff. Okay, fair enough. I'll shut up.
So is the restriction going to be lifted that even if you're in a group, that group had to be 6 feet apart? It's just like it never happened?
It's all gone.
It's all gone.
As of right now, it says retiring optional business guidance. The Tennessee Pledge Business Guidelines issued at the start of COVID-19 has been officially retired. So there is no restriction.
Yeah, it's lifting occupancy in restaurants, the masks.
This puts the burden on the individual to decide whether they're going to go into a facility.
And I guess if it were to surge, we could revisit.
We can always revisit.
I see no reason to place any restrictions.
Because last year when we did restrictions, we did away with pool passes because we didn't want to upset people who had passes when they come and we'd already reached occupancy. Didn't think that was fair. If we're going back with no restrictions, we now can sell pool passes. We can go back to our normal rates of 2, 4, 5, and 4, and free for those underage.
At this point, we'll be far beyond the time of anybody that wants to be vaccinated. They will be. And at some point we gotta stop.
Yeah, it'll be come at your own risk in the group if you're not vaccinated.
All right, can we get out enough things in time to let people know about pool passes and stuff like that? I know you got a month, but
Yeah,
that's an
we're
awful
already
short
getting phone
time.
calls.
Sorry,
We're already getting phone calls
Oh,
every
okay.
day.
because you usually sell what, 200 or 300?
Yeah.
pool passes?
They're not big sellers, but yes, we do.
Okay.
I think about $5,000 to $7,000 a year.
Well, it's money you know you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think action needs to be taken by the board.
All
We'll
right.
open and we'll revisit it later.
Thank you.
If something comes up. Thank you, Scott. Is there anything else to come under new business?
Yeah, I was talking to Neil Schultz the other day, and we were talking about the city springs down here that he donated several years ago, and our Ebenezer the Rock, and there's a light that shines on that at nighttime, and he's still paying that bill. And he didn't really ask us to, but I just wonder if I mean, it seems to me like we ought to take that over. I mean, it's our property now, and he donated it, and I hate to see him sitting there paying the electric bill for the light every month, every year.
I don't have any issue with that.
I just
Can't
thought,
be
I
that much.
don't know how much it
One
is.
light.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not a huge amount.
Well,
but-
if it's our property, we need to step up and do the full maintenance of it, whether it be electricity mowing it or whatever. And I noticed it's kept mowed real nice there.
Yeah.
I got 2 lights out at the Mountain View Industrial Park that I paid. It's with King Fork Electric. I doubt it'd be much difference with McMinnville, and we pay like $7.59 a month for those 2 lights.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to assume those costs.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey,
So me too.
a second by Mr. Everett Brock. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Anything else to come under new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 9, resolutions. Item 9A is resolution number 2131, a resolution to authorize the city of McMinnville, Tennessee to accept the statewide contract number 209-64423 from TT of Columbia, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Fiat of Columbia for two 2021 Ram 1500 chassis tradesman quad cab four-wheel drives in the total amount of $46,632.50 for the City of McMinnville Water and Sewer Department, to authorize the city administrator of McMinnville to issue the necessary purchase order on behalf of the city and to express the time when the resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Everett Brock
Second.
and a second by Mr. Stacy Harvey. Is there any discussion on the matter?
This money is coming out of water and sewer enterprise fund.
Correct.
That was in our budget to purchase.
Hearing no discussion, we will call for the vote.
Everett Brock,
Aye.
Stacy Harvey,
Yes.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby. Yes. Zach Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Yes, motion passes. Item 10 is ordinances. Item 10A is ordinance number 1810, an ordinance to amend Chapter 1, Title 18 of the City of McMinnville, Tennessee, 1995 edition, and amendments thereto by repealing and deleting sections 18-105 water tapping fees and 18-106 sewer tapping fees, and adopting and replacing them with new sections to provide a severability clause and to set the time for the ordinance and new fees to become effective, and the option for annual review. This is the second and final reading. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey
Second.
and a second by Ms. Sally Brock. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Stacy Harvey,
Yes.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Everett Brock,
Aye.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby. Yes. Zach Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 10B is ordinance number 1811, an ordinance of the City of McMinnville for the adoption, ratification, and approval of the contract and the mayor signing of the contract with pace setters on behalf of the City of McMinnville, and to authorize funding from the general fund and to set the time for the ordinance to become effective. This is the second and final reading. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey,
Second.
second by Mr. Steve Harvey. Is there any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Stacy Harvey,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Everett Brock,
Aye.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby. Yes. Zach Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Yes, motion passes. Item 10C is ordinance number 1812, an ordinance of the City of McMinnville to amend Chapter 5, Title 14 of the official zoning code of the City of McMinnville, Tennessee, which is the official zoning code of the City of McMinnville, to add a provision for the use of general contractors and specialty contractors' offices and enclosed storage in the general commercial and highway commercial districts as special exception uses, and to set the date that this ordinance shall become effective. This is the first reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey. A second by Ms. Rachel Kirby. Katie, can you come up and give a little insight to this, please?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. So this is a zoning amendment that came, we had over the course of the last year and a half or so, we've had a couple requests of contractors who wanted to put a kind of a storage building in C2, and C2 doesn't have that use available to them. So we brought it to the Planning Commission to look at this as a zoning amendment. So you'll see at the end of the staff report the different standards that we applied to it, but I'll kind of walk you through how we got to those standards. We did kind of a windshield survey and looked at the different types of contractor building types and uses in the city, and we found that there were 3 offices, like Wyman Hale's office, and you'll see there are pictures in your staff report. And offices are actually, a general office use is a permitted use in C2, but we established that that was a kind of a type of use for a contractor in town, or in our town. And that really consists of users who are the office workers, other employees, clients, and the building really just houses office equipment and furnishings. So it's no wonder that it's already allowed in C2. We also found that there's use of enclosed storage. So this is a storage focused use, typically as large garage doors, open space for vehicles, large equipment, tools, building supplies, and that nature. And the users are primarily the contractors and maybe vendors, and hardly any clients. And the traffic is focused on the kind of trucks or equipment that's needed by the contractor. So we had a couple of those that we were able to identify, and the point is everything is enclosed in that building. And that contrasts with the third type that we saw, which is that contractor's yard. That's basically the same thing as enclosed storage. The use of the building is focused on storage. The same type of users are the primary users of the enclosed storage. And the same type of materials are happening inside, except for a contractor's yard has those building material storage on the outside storage. So we gave you a couple examples of that. We also looked at what is the purpose of C2 and C3. The zoning code includes with every zoning district description a sense of the purpose of it, and it found that the area that the C2 is for the conduct of community and regional retail and service business dealings, predominantly in those goods transportable by private auto, and for those creating a substantial amount of automotive traffic. So you think of Sonic, you think of the strip malls, and you think of even a doctor's office and that kind of thing. And highway commercial had a similar purpose, but with the conduct of heavy retail and wholesale commercial uses of predominantly regional nature. So the idea that commuters, visitors, tourists are going to be driving down 70 and pull in to Northgate Mall or the Plaza for, are going to be using that kind of commercial district. We also looked at other jurisdictions, and we gave you a chart, but I just want to highlight that when we looked at other jurisdictions, the trend was that contractor uses that used larger equipment, heavy vehicles, outdoor storage tended to be in the industrial areas, which aligns with our current zoning code. And then when the contractors were in the commercial districts, the different jurisdictions took steps to mitigate the impact of their presence. So Lebanon's approach was to kind of have 3 buckets: light, medium, and heavy contractors. And then they were sorted into zoning districts that fit that designation. And Tullahoma just has enclosed storage. If you're in a commercial district, everything has to be enclosed. So kind of to jump down to the standards, we took all this information and proposed a standard to the Planning Commission, who then have recommended it to you. For C2 and C3, it's the same. It's a special exception use. That means it's not an outright permitted use. Any applicant with a building permit would have to come to the BZA and get their special exception approval. And that all the activities would have to be enclosed within a building or buildings. And because there's no use in C2 that is completely storage, except for like mini warehouses, and even that's really a retail consumer focused use. We set in a standard where storage could not occupy more than 60% of the total gross square footage of the building, or in the case of multiple buildings, over the square footage of the multiple buildings. And then a floor plan and site plan to confirm the 60% threshold. And then and this really just aligns with C2's already existing, that there's no outdoor storage of building materials or equipment. And that's it. So I know it was long-winded, but I did want to give you kind of that full context. So, do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions?
What is the only thing that kind of caught my eye was the 60% storage percentage. Seems a little low. I mean, if you had an office that's very small and, you know, a building could easily take up more than 60% of the space in storage. I don't know. It just Where did that number come from?
It kind of came from the idea that, again, that the storage can't take up the whole building because that's not in line with the other uses in C2. So if we're going to include a office in there, you know, what's a reasonable amount to ask for an office where you have your customers coming and all of that? 50% felt, again, too harsh. And then getting smaller and smaller, that felt like it was defeating the purpose. So 60% felt like it was that middle ground of where the building does have that office focused use, where you're having clients and vendors signing contracts, you're having all of that kind of traffic that's coming onto the site, and then you're using it for that, but you still have ample room for storage, for equipment and materials and whatnot.
So the storage part is separate from the office building.
It can be in the same building.
But is the 60% include the office space or just the storage
That's
space?
it. Only 60% of the building can be devoted to storage of, you know,
Okay.
contractors. equipment.
Of whatever size the building is.
Yeah, exactly. That's
And
the
these have
idea.
to be under one roof.
I think that's a good question. If it's multiple buildings, we would look across on one parcel, we'd look across the different buildings, 60% of the total square footage of the buildings.
You mentioned building or buildings.
That's right. So we didn't, to your point, put in a specific provision that requires that there is office or that it's all in one or whatever. It could be across them.
It's an aggregate then.
Yeah. But as long as it would be on one parcel, that's what we did.
You've been in contact with people that, I mean, does this hit the mark?
I think that it's less than what they would, I think it's less than what they would desire, but, you know, it's certainly an improvement on the, certainly an improvement on the zoning that we have. So, you know, I don't want to let good be the enemy or perfect be the enemy of good enough. So I think this is a good start anyway.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Stacy Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby. Yes. Everett Brock,
Aye.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Zach Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 11 is departmental reports. We have several department heads here this evening. If any wish to address the board, please approach the podium. Chair recognizes Frank Southard.
It was last time we talked about handicap spaces downtown. They are, I guess, there's one over by the chamber. There's one by Citizens Tri-County Bank right by the chamber. Two at the courthouse, one at First National Bank down here, one at Pioneer Pediatric, and one at Vanessa's Barber Shop on the far end. Over where Hargroves was, there's a loading zone. I recommend putting that a handicap. That would be a good one. The loading zone up at the library, I would say leave it because people will run in the library right quick. The one in front of City Hall out front, I would say leave it because people use it to pay their water bill. But they are one in front of the Stanley's office, lawyer's office down here, a loading zone, and one in front of the DA's office. I didn't know if y'all wanted to make them handicapped or just make them a parking spot.
Do we need more handicap space, you think?
It probably wouldn't hurt.
Libby, is there any kind of regulation on percentages?
I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, I think they actually are, but I don't know the percentages.
Could we hold off, do the other things and then hold off on those
Yeah.
two?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
The loading zones that are used by customers, I think are great, like here and at the library, but the ones that are for
Yeah.
the
They go
business.
apart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, nobody uses the
Right.
loading zones in front of the DA's office.
But now whether they need to be regular spots or handicap spaces, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, that,
Let's see, get some information.
Yeah.
From,
Let's see if I can find out percentage of.
yeah, Libby ought to be able to have access to that
Yeah.
information, so.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Just wait till next time. I want to thank y'all. I got my knuckle boom truck today.
Good job.
It's delivered, so I want to thank y'all very much.
Pick up the limbs that have been sitting in my yard for a month.
We're not going to do that. You're on the
How about the ones in mine?
Hey, here's your schedule. Here's your schedule when to expect it. Where was that you are?
Any other,
I'm Friday.
any other department heads wish to address the board? Hearing, yes, sir.
5 minutes in executive session upon adjournment.
Item 12 is announcements.
I actually had 3 things.
Under departmental reports?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just an update on the water tower waiver. We got that taken care of. So we can now rappel off the water tower.
Sweet.
You first, Nolan.
Yeah. Kendall has left the building.
The other thing was the home property that they got their soil test back that says it's good. We need to now decide what we want to do. So they can use any percentage of that property that they want, with the exception of where we've got the large piles of brush. So it's all wide open. So we needed to kind of talk about where we want to either subdivide the property or just put up a fence, how we want to do it.
How many acres do they want?
6 to 7.
And that keeps them away from that building and.
Yeah. Maybe you want to talk about that at a future meeting.
Yeah.
I could come up with some ideas in the meantime.
They're not waiting on us for anything, are they?
At this point, they are. They were waiting on that soil report, but now they've got that.
They don't-
It's just a matter of acreage then.
They don't have their
Yeah.
funding yet, do they? For
I'm
building?
not sure about that.
I know they have the first house already spoken for to be built.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
funded.
Well, I told him I would shell up 10 for them over there. So I don't think their funding's going to be a problem. Not,
Well, they could,
at least not to the extent it would have been without
they
that.
got to build their little clubhouse, I think, first before they do the.
It would look to me that we would need to get some type of site plan from them, Nolan, and then to get it surveyed up and all that. That would be a prudent course of action, I believe.
And find out how much they need for their septic system, because I'm sure that the field lines are going to be, they've got that
We've got all
plot.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
they're good to go. We really need a decision as far as, does the board want to sell the property? Do you want to just rent it? If you're gonna sell it, we're gonna have to do the survey and all that.
If this is a motion entertained event,
It probably needs to go under the appropriate committee meetings.
Right.
so that's building and grounds first.
Yeah, so we can just put that on for next time to discuss in committee.
Should we call one beforehand?
Yeah, we certainly don't want to hold them
Yeah,
up.
I don't wanna- I mean,
We
they-
need to do everything we
They've
can to
struggled
move them
enough getting
forward.
the soil testing done. I know that held them up.
But it's just a matter of how much and where we put the lines. But
Yeah.
I think legal counsel said we need to sell it with a revisionary clause.
I think you need to donate it
Or donate it, yeah. with the re-
and deed it to that organization and retain no interest in it whatsoever. But it's gonna have to be surveyed. You gotta have a description for the deed.
Can we go ahead and survey it then? I mean, just.
Well, not until you know what they want.
Yeah, so we just need to say, here's the boundary and then have that done.
We
So-
probably need to have them stake that out
Yeah.
themselves. Stake that out.
I've looked at the map with them, just the overhead, and said, what about this? So I've got a pretty good idea of what they're looking at, so
And he
we
has,
can stake that out.
he has the authority to hire a surveyor to get that done between now and the next meeting.
If you can get that done, I'll give you a lollipop if you can get that done in 2 weeks.
That would be quite the accomplishment.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Yes, it
It
would, so
took
we
them
don't need that.
a long time to get that soil survey done.
I had to reach deep in the weeds there in my address book to get that.
Yeah, so people are busy right now. And just a quick last thing, update on the budget process. Have met with almost all departments to review their initial expenditure requests. We're in the process of closing out the third quarter and hope to have that done by the end of this week. And we'll provide an update hopefully at the end of this week where we're at with the next step, which is budget proposal workshops with each of you. So they could be scheduled as quickly as next week sometime. So I'll try to let you know as soon as I know. That's it.
Announcements.
I just wanted to make an announcement, make everybody aware of the river mile markers that have been placed out there along our rivers. Breakfast Rotary with Rachel Killebrew and Wally Bigby spearheading that endeavor. Have done a fantastic job. I was meeting with the fire department yesterday, and it's going to make water rescues significantly quicker for those to be identified. So I just wanted to recognize those markers and that community support for that project.
I was just notified by Brian Kell, who's with us in the audience, that the Warren County Pioneers just won the District 6 AAA regular season championship 13-0 over White County in baseball. So
All right.
congratulations, Warren County Pioneers. And also, we do have to go into executive session following adjournment of the meeting, so we do need to have the boardroom vacated for the purposes of that meeting. If there be no further announcements to come before the board, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.